Chào các bạn, rất nhiều người theo dõi kênh này đã yêu cầu mình làm một video so sánh giọng Mỹ và giọng Anh. Hôm nay, mình gửi đến các bạn chính video ấy. Mình đã mời 4 bạn của mình tham gia video này để các bạn nghe những sự khác biệt chính giữa các phát âm của người Mỹ và người Anh. Bây giờ, mình xin được giới thiệu 4 bạn ấy.
My name is Stephanie.
My name is Nathan.
My name's Laura.
I'm Jez.
4 bạn ấy bao nhiêu tuổi?
I'm 30 years old.
I'm 28.
I'm 28.
I'm 28.
Họ ở Việt Nam bao lâu rồi?
I've been in Vietnam for 18 months.
5 years more or less, on and off.
18 months.
About 3 years.
Còn điều quan trọng nhất là họ đến từ nước nào?
I'm from America.
United States of America.
I'm from England.
England.
Bây giờ, mình sẽ cho các bạn nghe nhiều hơn và sẽ phân tích những sự khác biệt đáng chú ý nhất. Có một điều nữa là nhiều bạn đã hỏi mình họ nên nói theo giọng nào. Theo mình, bạn nên nói theo giọng là cá nhân bạn thấy dễ hơn. Ngay cả nếu bạn có dự định đi du học ở Mỹ mà thấy giọng Anh dễ bắt chước hơn, thì cứ nói theo giọng Anh đi. Có rất ít khi mà người Mỹ và người Anh khó hiểu nhau. Để giúp các bạn đánh giá giọng nào dễ hơn, mình đã mời một bạn Việt tham gia nữa. Bạn ấy tên là Ngọc, năm nay đang 22 tuổi và bạn ấy là người Việt 100%, nên các bạn có thể tin tưởng vào sự đánh giá của bạn ấy. Ok, bắt đầu nhé. Và tiếp theo, mình sẽ nói tiếng Anh. First, you're gonna hear them say this sentence. When you listen, pay attention to these two words.
I got some news about my student.
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 Can you hear the difference? The Americans just say ooh, but the English people add a y sound in there, and they say you. Listen again.
I got some news about my student.
I got some news about my student.
There are lots of other words like this, where Americans say ooh, and English people say you. So let's see which one Ngop thinks is easier.
I got some news about my student.
Student. British accent is easier.
So I guess that's 1 point for British English. Let's move on to the next sentence. This time, pay attention to these 3 words.
My teacher said this would be a hard course.
My teacher said this would be a hard course.
My teacher said this would be a hard course.
My teacher said this would be a hard course.
This is one of the most well-known differences between American English and British English, the pronunciation of R's after vowels. Listen again to how they say this word.
Course.
Course.
Americans pronounce the R very clearly, and we use the back of our tongue to make that sound. But the British people basically just make the vowel sound longer, and they don't really pronounce the R at all. If an R comes between 2 vowel sounds, like in the word very, then English people pronounce it basically the same as Americans. But if the R comes after a vowel and isn't followed by another vowel, like in these words, then English people don't really pronounce the R. So what does our Vietnamese friend think?
Teacher.
So your vote goes for...
American English.
Alright, moving on. In this sentence, pay attention to these 2 words.
I sent a letter to the city center.
I sent a letter to the city center.
I sent a letter to the city centre.
I sent a letter to the city centre.
This is another very well-known difference, the pronunciation of the letter T between vowel sounds. The English people say it the way you would expect, t, but the Americans say it more like d. Listen again to how they say this word.
I sent a letter.
I sent a letter.
Now, my American friends surprised me with this one, because I thought they would say this word like center, but they didn't.
City center.
City center.
So I asked them if they always say center, or if they sometimes say center, and they really weren't sure.
Center. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Center.
So this shows you that our accents are not absolute. We might pronounce the same word in a different way, depending on the situation. Anyway, you can see this difference in a lot of different words. So let's see which way Ngop thinks is easier. And city.
City. It's easier to pronounce British English.
Next sentence. Pay attention to these 3 words.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath.
Okay, this is another very, very well-known difference. For a lot of words that have an A in the middle, Americans pronounce the A the way you would expect, ah. But British people pronounce it more like ah. Listen how they say this word.
Bath.
Bath.
Now, the difficulty with this difference is that there's no real rule for when British people say ah and when they say ah. For example, they pronounce this word with an ah sound and this word with an ah sound. Anyway, let's see what Ngop thinks.
Of course, American English.
Alright, moving on. This time, pay attention to the stress of these three words.
I have an adult-only buffet in my garage.
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 Did you hear that? The Americans put the stress on the second syllable, and the English people put the stress on the first. Listen again to how they say this word.
Adult-only.
Adult-only.
The thing these three words have in common is they all come from French, and there are a lot of other French words used in English which follow the same rule. Stress on the second syllable in America, stress on the first in England. And which one is easier?
It's the same.
Okay, here's the next sentence. Pay attention to these two words.
I saw a zebra enjoying his leisure.
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 Now this is a small difference, but it is interesting. In some words with the letter E, Americans pronounce it with an E sound, and English people pronounce it with an E sound. And there are some others which are the opposite. Americans say E, and British people say E. Now when I filmed this, I noticed something that I hadn't planned for. Listen to how they say this word.
I saw a zebra.
I saw a zebra.
Can you hear that? The Americans say ah, and the English people say it more like oh. Unfortunately, when I noticed this, I had already filmed my American friends, and I didn't have time to film them again. So instead, listen to Laura saying a few more words like this, and compare it with how I say them.
Draw.
Draw,
Claw.
claw,
Raw.
raw. So, which does Ngop think is easier? Ah or oh?
American English.
Okay.
Again.
Okay, this is the last sentence. In this one, pay attention to the intonation.
Have you been to Sapa yet?
Have you been to Sapa yet?
Have you been to Sapa yet?
For yes-no questions, both accents have a rising intonation. But the difference is that Americans tend to have a steady rise. Listen.
Have you been to Sapa yet?
But English people tend to have a quick rise and then a little fall.
Have you been to Sapa yet?
But this is another case where my friend surprised me. Listen to Jez. His intonation sounds very American.
Have you been to Sapa yet?
Did you hear that? He had a very steady rise. So once again, this shows you that our accents aren't absolute. So which intonation does Ngop think is easier?
American English.
Well, it looks like American English wins, but that's just Ngop's opinion. Maybe you feel differently. And now to finish, I want you to listen to my friends imitating the accent of the other country. For example, my teacher said this would be a hard course.
My teacher said this. I can't do it.
My teacher said this would be a hard course.
Alright.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath. That's awful.
I had a chance to laugh in my bath.
I came back about 3 months ago, so in total, this is so bad. I was doing it so much better the other day. I'm a teacher.
Oh, really? What do you teach?
I teach English language.